ready to
Yeah.
go?
No, I think we're ready to go. Because it's going to be recorded. People can catch up if they need to, and I know we want to see what you got to show and then be able to ask questions. I know that's what takes a big
Yeah.
chunk of time as well. So let's
Absolutely.
roll.
All right.
Okay,
Jonathan,
excellent.
pleasure to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you. I'll put the video back on a little bit. I just want to make sure you guys have the full screen here as you're going through. So I'll just kick it off here. So today's session, I just want to make sure that everybody's aware. It's a high-level overview of Copilot. Again, this is the first session. We'll do the second session, and you can get deeper into questions. And it's really to showcase, what the product can do, so that, AdventHealth can start to think through some of your use cases, right? What you're going to use against Copilot. And so my name is Jonathan Danowitz. I'm part of what's called the Copilot Cloud Solution Team that's going to be helping customers like yourself, over the course of this preview. And so the team that I'm on, we have a couple of goals, and I'm only going to talk 10 minutes here on slides and we'll get right into the demo. We're here to help, looking for ways to help you deliver, right, this to the wider group. So, I'm your best and point of contact. So as we go through this and you have questions, please contact me and I'll help you. And then second, I'm really here to help you get the most out of these 300 licenses that you guys have purchased during this preview. So I'm really excited to kind of run through and showcase what everything can do. So what has happened already is you guys have gone through the assess program. You guys signed your TNC terms and condition, and now I'm here to deliver what's called the art of the possible. What is this product? What can it do? And then last, after I do this, I'll start to help you guys in what we call the third phase, which is build the plan, right? If you need support and help with that. And so I'll work with you to prepare kind of a success plan, right? To analyze, different scenarios and prioritizations to deliver some, reporting and recommendations to you guys as well too. And so let's sort of dive right in. What is Copilot? And again, we'll kind of rip through some of these pretty quick here. So I often get asked, did we really just hook ChatGPT into apps? And the answer is no, right? Copilot is not just ChatGPT hooked into our M365 apps. What Copilot does, very high level, it'll combine the power of what we call LLMs, large language models, with your data in the Microsoft Graph. And I'll explain what's inside the graph here in our next image as well too, with our M365 apps, all accessed through what we call natural language. So really, what does it do? It turns your words really into this powerful productivity tool, right? So you really can just be super productive when you start to work with this product. And so one of the things here is Copilot on a page. And in two more slides, excuse me, I have some great animations. It's just a minute or so video that'll animate this piece to really drive home. But really think of this as, the first step in the orchestration of Copilot is you, right? You're the customer. So in this upper left-hand quadrant up here, next to the apps, you guys are kind of making the prompts, right? So you're prompting for Copilot to do something. And you'll kind of look at the flow on the right-hand side. And so we use this word prompt. So you prompt Copilot. Copilot then sends information into what we call our graph, right? And the graph, if anyone goes, what is this graph? What is in there? It's your stuff, basically, right? It's your context. It's your content. It's all of your files, your meetings, your chats, your emails, your calendars, and contacts. When you got a license, all of that information started to what we call index. It did a semantic index of that information so that we can call that information to help deliver and drive information to you quickly. Now, I want to be real clear about when you input prompts using all these tools, the information is contained within that prompt. The data that retrieves all of that as well and generates all the response. Again, all of that information remains within the Microsoft cloud. So none of this goes outside of your infrastructure. Everything is contained right inside of your infrastructure. I'm going to say these words maybe differently throughout the presentation. We do not ship information to the large language model. Okay? We don't ship anything out. And so after it kind of gets your information into the graph, you'll see it ships it over here to, the LLM. The Copilot receives it back from the LLM. It does what's called grounding and processing. It does pre-processing before, it does post-processing. It captures all that information and then sends it right back over to you over here. And I have a really great 1-minute video that I want to show right before we get into the demo. Okay, next is kind of what is our kind of foundation principles here. So the reason I bring this slide up is I want to make sure everybody is aware that when we, excuse me, we build all of these principles with AI with you, the customer, in mind. So it's built on the approach of security and compliance and privacy, right? We architect to protect your tenant, your groups, and the individual data, right? So look, we know a major concern for customers, you, every other customer, is staying in control and access to the business data really within your organization, right? So within your tenant, we provide what's called a permissions model. And that really helps to ensure that the right groups of users only have access to the data that they're supposed to have access to, right? We are committed to what's called responsible AI. And so you can see on this bottom, on the far right-hand side, what we're guided by, right? We're guided by these core set of principles: fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability. And I'm glad I remember that because I just took my test and passed it. So thank God I remembered that. So remember, AI systems really should treat everyone fairly, right? And we need to avoid really affecting similar, situated groups of people in different ways. And I always give kind of an example. So when AI system provides guidance on, I don't know, like medical treatment or loan applications or an employment, right? They really should make the same recommendations to everyone, right, who has similar, symptoms or financial circumstances or professional qualifications. We are really, really ensuring from a responsibility that we're taking the right action when it comes to AI. And then last, and then I'll quickly show the video and we'll get right into the demos while everybody's here, is it's really designed for the need of the enterprise. Okay, so Copilot, again, it inherits your organization's security, compliance, and privacy information. We've designed it to work right as for you. And so, this includes and noting limitations that we provide, and we give you citations of where we get the information from, right? We provide links to sources and prompts. So it's not just making stuff up, that when you call information, we cite where we get that information from. Okay, so let me play this video. It's about a minute long, and then we'll go right into live demos and answer some questions. If you can't hear it when I play it, please just shout.
Microsoft 365 Copilot is powered by what we call the Copilot system, a sophisticated processing and orchestration engine. It harnesses the power of 3 foundational technologies: the Microsoft 365 apps, that's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and more; the Microsoft Graph, that's all your content and context, your emails, files, meetings, chats, and calendar; and a large language model, or LLM, a creative engine capable of parsing and producing human-readable text. All accessible through natural language. It starts with a prompt from you in an app. Copilot pre-processes the prompt through an approach called grounding. Put simply, grounding improves the quality of the prompt, so you get answers that are relevant and actionable. One of the most important parts of grounding is making a call to the Microsoft Graph to retrieve your business content and context. Copilot combines this user data from the graph with other inputs to improve the prompt. It then sends that modified prompt to the LLM. You may be familiar with what an LLM can do based on your experience with ChatGPT or Bing Chat. Copilot takes the response from the LLM and post-processes it. This post-processing includes additional grounding calls to the graph, responsible AI checks, security, compliance and privacy reviews, and command generation. Finally, Copilot sends a response to the user and commands back to the apps. Copilot iteratively processes and orchestrates these sophisticated services to produce a result that feels like magic.
All right, pretty cool stuff. All right, let's get into some live demos here. So let's start with Teams. Is that okay with everybody? If anybody wants to follow along, please feel free. Also, I want to make sure that everybody's aware, whatever I'm showcasing here, if you wanted to bring your mobile device in when we get into the meeting, feel free to do that as well too. This works off of mobile as well too. It's awesome. I use it almost daily on my mobile device. So a couple of things here. So just the prep here. I've had a meeting that I've had and I've set up with a bunch of folks on my team, and we called this this meeting Project Falcon, right? And so the scenario here, imagine that you had a meeting, and our scenario here is, the project launch timing is at risk. Joining a meeting, I'm joining the meeting with my V team, and we're going to discuss the pros and cons of delaying the launch, by, I don't know, say a month here. And so we've discussed the launch event itself, and we needed to decide which execs should attend, as our spokesperson. So imagine you had a meeting, and now you need to get information from that meeting. And imagine if you were late to the meeting and you wanted to know, gosh, I was 5-10 minutes late, or I couldn't make the meeting, right? So let's open up Copilot, and I have some prompts prepped already here just to make it easier. And let's say I get to this meeting and I say, I want to know what is the objective of this meeting in one sentence, right? And so you're going to see here, Copilot is open, and I've asked Copilot, just quickly summarize this in one sentence. And so you can see very quickly the objective of this meeting, right, was to discuss the launch timing and the executive, you guys can read this. So now I kind of have a really good idea of what this meeting is about very quickly, whether I was part of the meeting, whether I was didn't make the meeting at all, or I was sort of doodling, right, doing something I shouldn't have been doing and needed to really understand what was happening there. Some other cool stuff I can say here is, well, I want to know, create me a table of all of the participants, right? And what were their roles in this meeting? Because I want to be able to ask questions to some folks on here, but I'm not quite sure, who to ask. And of course, my demo gods are messing with me. So let's take a look. So we're going to ask it to create a table of participants and their roles. And the reason I like to run through this, you can see that Copilot not only is just going to give you information, but now we can table things out. We can matrix information out. So now I want to say, okay, here were the participants in this meetings. Here were the roles, right? I really need to talk to the product marketing lead. So that's Jason, right? So I didn't even need to kind of listen to the meeting, right? I didn't need to even understand who was in there because I asked Copilot, tell me the participants, tell me their roles. And so let's be clear, the way that it got this was from announcements. It just doesn't know who you are just because you joined the meeting. During this meeting, you're going to have to introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Jonathan. I'm part of the marketing team. I'm a marketing lead. That's kind of where it generated that type of information. Some things that Copilot does that I like, that we can start to look at is we can say, hey, what decisions were made in this meeting, right? So it's not just some easy questions around what sentences were there. We can say, hey, give me some decisions that were made. So I can ask Copilot what decisions were made. You'll see that it always says it's generating response in the right-hand side. It takes anywhere from 10 to say 20 plus seconds. So you'll see it started to bullet these out for me, right? These were some of the decisions that were made. I can ask it, what was the tone of the meeting? Oops, what was the tone of the meeting? So now I want to kind of say, was there an issue in there? Were people upset? It doesn't understand inflection in voices. You can scream the entire time during this meeting. It wouldn't say that anybody was yelling. However, it'll kind of understand from the content in the transcript that was happening and make a sort of judgment around the tone. So you can say, hey, the tone of this meeting was mostly professional and collaborative, right? And there was some disagreements in here. And maybe it had this tone in here because it was saying, hey, I kind of disagree with that comment, or I think maybe we should do something else. That's where it's kind of getting that type of information from. Any questions so far on that? I want to put in the window here 3 different pieces also about meetings, and we'll kind of talk about some of the prompting here. I think it's important here. Oops, I put the wrong stuff in there. Couple things while I'm grabbing this. So Copilot is analyzing the transcripts of the meeting, right? I want to make sure that everybody understands that. It's gathering context as the meeting progresses. Okay. It's private to you. So when I have Copilot open, nobody else can see this information. If I wanted to take this information and bring it over, I would copy this and then either email it or send it through chat to somebody else. The other big thing about Copilot is it's only gathering from transcripts. The slides, the meetings information, and the chats do not contribute to Copilot's context. I got to be real clear about that. In Teams meetings, it's only taking information from the transcription. And so I'm sorry, I'm not seeing if there's any questions or hands raised. So if anybody on the Microsoft side, if when there's a pause or if you want to kind of ask the question, I'm happy to answer that.
I
Good to
had
go.
a quick question.
Sure.
Just in relation to what you were talking about, if it only feeds off the transcript, if it's plugging into the Graph API, and you're able to, I assume, enhance or train some of the different layers within that piece, is there a reason you couldn't augment some of this output with
What-
what's coming in from the Graph API?
We're not training anything. It's the indexing that's happening. So it's pulling from anything that you had access to. So if you have access to a file in here, you would be able to pull from your file. If somebody else does not, then they wouldn't be able to. But specifically in Teams meetings, it's only transcription. I want to be
Okay.
real clear about that. Meetings is transcriptions. What you're talking about is if we're kind of opening Word or if I'm just pulling it from, business chat or something else, it would be able to pull from the graph. But again, it's only pulling from whatever has been indexed by you individually and whatever you have permission to be able to see.
So, for instance, in the example where you pulled out the roles and the names, is there a reason the information from each of the participants wouldn't be pulled from that API that's identifying all
No,
the users? They have to
no,
speak in the transcript.
they have to speak in the transcript. So for this
Okay.
particular one, roll call, right? Hey, everybody, let's introduce ourselves and what our role is, right? My name's Jonathan Danowitz, and I'm a CSA co-pilot. And then you would get on, and your name is X, and you're this, and that's where it's taking that information from. Make sense? Okay, great.
Jonathan, one other quick question. I think I know the answer, but Matt had asked, how long will Copilot chat history last and be accessible for me in this recap? I believe it's tied to your chat set, your retention settings.
Everything is set to retention settings. So,
Yeah.
do you guys know whatever your retention setting is, that's how long it'll be. We'll leave it at that for sure, whether it's individual chat or meetings. And there could be 2 different retention settings that you guys set. So again, all of this will go away within probably 24 hours, right, of you kind of asking Copilot these questions.
I think that's even just a key point on Copilot in general. All of your retention, security, compliance type settings that you set within your tenant, it adheres to those because it's Copilot is looking at, well, what does Jonathan or Chad have access to? It's not going to be something separate than how security settings and trimmings are configured.
Yeah. Great point. One thing I want to call out here, and I just want to kind of cut it off before anyone asks. So everybody always says, why is Copilot not included in Teams Premium? I don't know if this group is looking at Teams Premium. Teams Premium is awesome. Talk to your account team if you need some information. But I'll just let you know that Copilot, remember, is a interactive AI capability, right, that is integrated across a wide range of 365 apps, right, which includes Teams. And so to realize our full value of Copilot, the capability really needs to be licensed in a way where, it can be accessed across all the apps and not just Teams. And so that's why it's a different SKU than Teams Intelligent Recap. So again, Teams Premium. If anybody has questions about Teams Premium, please do reach out to your account team and they can give you more. I just wanted to be very clear and upfront of why there's a different SKU between Copilot and Teams Premium. Okay. Also within the meeting, again, we offer what's called prompts. So if you're like, hey, Jonathan, it's good. You kind of had these prompts ready. You kind of knew what you wanted to ask in this meeting. If you have no idea what you want to ask, we're going to give you some suggestions. I want to be real clear. These are suggested prompts. So when you click more prompts, it'll give you some suggestions here. So we can say, hey, do me a favor, recap that meeting, list any action items. You guys can see here while the meeting is going on, and let's kind of maybe bring up our meeting here. Let me bring this over. Sorry if you guys are going to see yourself there. And so I can say right now in this call, recap this meeting so far. And again, apologies, everybody's kind of staring at themselves there. And so you'll see at any point, right? So now we're having this meeting and I'm going to kind of look at Tim here. Sorry, Tim. Tim's doodling. He's not really paying attention. And somebody says, hey, Tim, what about this? What about that? Tim can say, recap this meeting for me so far, right? Or give me the highlights. What are the 5 cool things that Jonathan just said, right? Again, feel free, when you guys have your meetings, and you'll see it'll start to generate some key topics that I've talked about, right? I'm speaking about the Project Falcon, right? I was talking about some executives that were speaking, meeting participant roles. Again, there is a limitation. We will increase this limitation of what it's going to give you. Right now, I think it's up to about 6,000 characters. It will expand throughout the program. So it probably is not going to pick up everything that I just said, but it'll give you a good kind of recap of what's happening during this meeting. And remember, transcription is going on. So it's capturing everything that we're saying now. So if you hit generate again, it's going to pick up some new items as we kind of bring in some new information. It's not always going to give you what you see there. The other piece is, remember, think of Copilot as just some person that you asked it a question. So, Louis, if you asked it a question and Jennifer, you asked it the same question, you're not going to get the same responses. You're going to get something very similar, but it's not going to be identical. So please remember that. So if somebody goes, hey, why did it say this for me? It's like asking one person, tell me, or 2 different people what they just heard. You're going to get 2 separate answers. Hopefully it's similar, right? If it's not, let us know, but it's going to be slightly different. Any questions on that? Okay. So we kind of talked about, a meeting happened, you kind of came to the meeting late, or if you were in the meeting, we just talked a little bit about during the meeting, right? You guys can sort of mess with that. What about sort of like, one-to-one or one-to-many, right? And so I'm going to pick on Jennifer on our team here. So Jennifer and I are kind of talking, right? We're having our one-to-one meetings, right? One-to-one chats in here. But I need to get caught up. I don't remember. Or what if I had a ton of stuff in here, right? About information. There was threaded and persistent chats. I can just come here and I can say, hey, highlight for the past day, 7 days, however many days I want. Remember, Teams is threaded and persistent. I don't know how long you guys keep your chat history there for, right? And so if it's for 7 days, 10 days, maybe you want to go back and say, tell me all the highlights from the past 30 days, right? This is where you're going to start to get that type of information. I'm not going to run this now, but I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that it works within that one-to-one or one-to-many chats. Has anybody taken advantage of that yet in this group? So go ahead and give it a shot, right? It's great, especially when you have these threaded and persistent chats. And remember, a couple days go by and you're like, man, I was just talking to Duncan last week and I just cannot remember what he was telling me. Ask it, right? It'll kind of list out all these different things. All right. So, and the last piece in Teams I want to bring up is business cross business app. I hate this name. Sorry, I know it's being recorded. It used to be called Business Chat. We changed it to Cross Business Chat because it's looking across your entire kind of graph and everything to get your information. So let me kind of bring this up here. And so this is when you get a license, you also get the ability to have, cross app chat here. Is everybody familiar with this? Has anybody looked at this at all? And have you guys deployed this yet? Looks like a couple.
This feature, I don't even know. I tried to find it the other day and I couldn't find it. So I don't know
if you have a license. Yep. If you have a license, if you go into apps over here and type in Copilot, you should be able to, if allowed. I don't know if you guys allow for these apps to be deployed. I don't know who, if you guys have decided, but you'll need to deploy this as a separate ad. It's a bot that you're going to talk to it, right? And it kind of helps you get things done, right? And I'll give you kind of some examples here. So let me just bring mine up over here. So a couple things that we can do. So let's say that, and I'll pop this in the window here. I wanted to search for a document related to threat model reports. I just can't find it. I don't know where it is. So I say, let me make this bigger for everybody too. So I say, hey, can you search for the document related to, this threat model report that I'm looking for? And so it's an app inside of Teams. It's a bot. Again, this is only for you. And it's going to go out there and it said, hey, Jonathan, I found a bunch of docs out there, right? They have these types of titles to them. Here's some information. Was there something more or specific you were looking for? And the reason it said that to me is, remember, everything within Copilot is around content and contextual. You've got to give it the right prompts to get the right information. So it said, hey, I found this stuff. You didn't really tell me which one you wanted. So here's kind of 3 different, documents that I found. Which one are you looking for? So now I know which one it wants, and I want to write an email referencing that document. This is where it's going to go into the graph, right? It's going to look for this document called Threat Model Report that I have access to. And I'm going to say, hey, can you write me an email, right, for John, that provides a summary of our solutions described in this document, right? So it's going to go out and it's going to say, sure, right? Let me kind of get that started. And again, when you prompt for information, it takes anywhere from that 15, 20, 25 seconds. It depends on what you're looking for. So this is now going out to the graph. It's saying, hey, I found this file called threat model report that you asked for. You asked me to summarize it in an email to John. So it says, sure, here's the draft. And it's going to say, dear John, I hope this email finds you well, blah, blah, blah. We'll kind of get into the email piece in a minute. It does citations. So if it's going to say, well, where did it get this line of information from? Because I need to verify that. Remember, AI, when it gives you information, we are only giving you, the user, a suggestion. Do not let AI kind of run with this, right? You need to review everything that is delivered to you. So you'll see these different citations of where it's grabbing this type of information from. But kind of cool here, I'm going to say, okay, I don't know, I like this, but it's too long, right? I need it to be shorter. And we'll get into email stuff, but this is just within the cross app chat. And it's going to say, okay, go ahead and make a shorter version of it for me. And so it's going to go out and it's going to say, no problem. And it's going to rewrite this into a shorter version. And again, I can come here once this is done and I can say, oops, say something went wrong. So we'll kind of try that again. You make a shorter version. I love it when the demo gods don't play great. There you go. And of course, it's starting to bomb, but let's just say that that worked and it made it shorter. And now I want to say, I don't know, I forgot, John's the recipient, not the sender. So we can come in here and it'll kind of rearrange that and say, okay, no problem. Let me kind of rearrange it. This also works really great where you're away for 3 days, 5 days, a week, you're on vacation, right? And what if you want to come back and you're going to say, hey, because it uses all of the information in your graph and anything you have access to, maybe you can say, show me some information about people that report to me, right? What were the emails that were sent to me by people who report to me? And it'll then start to list out all of the emails, if you wanted, that were sent to you by your direct reports. I think things like that, it's there to help you catch up. It's there to make you really smart, really fast, without having to comb through just tons and tons of information. So let me pause there and see if anybody has more questions on, again, this is cross-app chat. We went through kind of looking at things within Teams, a meeting that had happened, a recap of it. We looked at in meeting, so during the meeting. We looked at sort of a one-to-one or one-to-many kind of uses. And again, these are high-level use cases. We'll kind of dig into deeper ones. And then we looked at cross-app chat, right? So this is an app that you're going to need to deploy. And really, it's there to just help you kind of get things done. It's your buddy, right? It's there to help you. So let me pause. Any questions there? And anybody on the Microsoft side can help me. Just let me know what questions are out there. Nothing?
I think we're pretty good on, I think the chat we're pretty well covered. Unless someone please speak up if your chat question hasn't been answered either by others within Advent or us here on Microsoft side.
Cool. All right. We'll get into Word and then we'll get into Outlook. Okay. We'll do that as well too. Microsoft Word. So what I like about Microsoft Word is there's a couple different ways that we can prompt for Copilot. So the first is, and I'm kind of even get, when you open up Word, it'll automatically kind of give you this Copilot piece here. At any point you want to bring it back, you click inside and this little pill, we call it this little pill, will pop up and we can kind of, recall the Copilot action to reappear. We also have this ability to fly out on the right-hand side. It's really a preference for you, however you kind of want to get started. Again, we're going to give you some suggestions, right? Here's some prompt guides. What if I have this blank document in front of me? I don't know what to do with it, right? Or, I want to write about X, or I want to kind of pull information in from a different doc in here. So it'll help you over here. But let's just sort of, play with this. And again, I have some of this stuff prepped. If not, take too long for these programs. So we'll say, list the top 5 considerations when preparing employee evaluations, right? And we're going to say generate. And so again, this is going either through the graph, it's looking at information that I have, or it's going out to the LLM to figure out, what are those top 5 considerations when preparing employee evaluations. And it's going to come back and it's going to start to generate and write some information for me. And you're going to see here how cool, how quick this is, right? It's going to give me some headers. It's going to give me just some paragraphs. And then it's going to continue to write, just a good amount of information to get me started. And so we'll kind of just let this finish here. And so remember, just think about that. If you're writing a proposal, right, or if you're just trying to write in, some documentation, you're a trainer, you're in sales, right, you're in marketing. This is really here to quickly get you started, to get those gears turning. Again, we are not telling anybody that when this is done writing it, that this is an absolute winner, right? You need to rewrite, or you need to look at these things. Also, it may not be, and I'm going to show you what I mean by tone and everything. Maybe it's not in your tone or your style. And so that's where we're going to say, you need to look at this and rewrite it so it feels like you. And so let's say I read this and I'm like, you know what? it's good enough for now. I'm going to rewrite some things. So I'm going to say, keep it. And so now I have this document down here that it wrote, hey, these are the top, 5 considerations for employee evaluations. But let's say I read this and I don't love this paragraph. Okay. If you highlight this paragraph, it does what's called rewrites. So Copilot within Word has a rewrite mechanism, and it's going to give me suggestions, again, on how I can rewrite this specific paragraph. Not only will it do that, I can say, hey, insert this below this because I want to compare the two. Or even better, I can change the tone of this paragraph, right? So now it's in a neutral tone. But if I need this paragraph to be more professional, it'll give me different options to be more professional. Or if I need it to be really casual, I know this person, I want it to be super casual, we can change the tone here to say casual. And let's say I like this one here. I say, hey, let me check this one out. Cool, this is exactly what I want. And I can say replace. And now I have a new casual replace paragraph to this specific Word document. Questions on that? Okay. Other things that we can do in here. So now we can start asking this question. So what if I want to know more because I want to continue to write more information into this document, right? This is not fully done yet. So I'm going to say, hey, how can managers help employees achieve their SMART goals, right? So now again, it's going to go out to the LLM. It's going to capture some information. It's going to give me back some information. When I get some of this information, I'm going to read it. I can then take it and I can introduce it into this document, right? I can keep adding to this document either by myself, or I can keep asking Copilot for different information so that I can take and include into that document. You can see there I can either copy it or I can quickly say, yeah, I like this, right? According to this, I can insert that anywhere I want to. All right. We can change the style in here, right? So maybe again, this is not anything you can't do anyway, but just from here, if we don't want it to be this type of style, we can change the body, we can change the font in here, right? This is kind of how we polish up this document in here as well, too. Any other questions within Word? To me, we use this quite a bit. We do a lot of documentation. I do a lot of training. I'll kind of bring my document in here, right? So I can reference a document in here by doing a slash over here. I can say, hey, reference document X, or I can ask it questions. So now that I've kind of written this out, I've sent this out to everybody here on this in this meeting. But again, you don't really have time because it's a 14-page proposal or a document, summarize it, right? So what's the summary of this document? So remember, it's not just creating. What if you received a document, right? You want to be able to summarize that document very quickly so that you can take that information, make changes to it, send it back to whoever, or ingest what they've given you and do what you need to with it as well, too.
Hey, Jonathan, we've got a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, quick question on that. You mentioned the slash. I've seen the reference the last 2 or 3 files I used, but I've not been able to specify a file or a folder for it to reference in the summary. Can you show how that works?
Yeah, so here's one thing I'm not loving so far. So when you reference a document, it's going to reference 3 documents for you. When you do your slash, do you see the last 3?
Yeah, and they're kind of random, and I wouldn't even call them the last 3.
Yep. So when you do your slash, and this is a feedback going in, remember, we're still in a public preview. What you'll need to do is, unfortunately, hit your slash, and you need to know the name of the document. So you got to put the exact name of that document if you want to reference a specific document. We will be modifying that. I don't know when, but it'll give you the browse option eventually, right, to go out and browse to a specific document. But for now, you got to get real specific with your backslash.
So would that work for a OneNote file or notebook?
OneNote is not part of the program. I know it's probably available to you. I don't know why it got turned on, but it did for everybody. But OneNote, I can't answer that. I can answer it, but I won't because I shouldn't, and it's not part of this program at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Jonathan, one other question related to pulling in information, or Jennifer asked, can you pull in notes from a particular meeting I attended? Like, is it smart enough to pull in a transcript or something like that? Or does it have to be like another quote document?
From Word, I think it has. That's a really good question. I don't know if I know. I don't think anyone's asked that for me. I know obviously you can pull them from different files, but I don't think from a Word document you can pull in notes. But I will. Can I get back to you on that? I like that question a lot. I don't know the answer. Unless somebody.
To be perfectly, I think that's right in line with some of the conversations we've been having in chat, just even about what do you do with notes? Or there might be notes that, like the example was, hey, this is a 2-year-old or a 2-year-long project, and we want to track all of the information or all of the to-dos kind of thing. And that might be something that is longer than the retention rules. What's the right use case or way to handle that? And I think, yeah, it is. If we can find that out.
Yeah, for sure. And the other piece that we were talking about, I want to be very transparent that this doesn't work this way, but we also, instead of referencing a file, one feedback that we just put in was referencing, say, information within like a document library or something, right? That also is something we need to be able to reference multiple files simultaneously as opposed to just individual files. At the moment, it is individual file reference. I don't know when, but I know that they're working on it, that you'll be able to have multiple references to multiple files. So imagine if you had this document library of 20 different proposals in there. You want to be able to say, hey, reference document library called proposals and pull me out all of the the last information of the last 3 proposals we did that were successful, right, or that got us the win or whatever it was. That is going to be part of this. I don't know when, but it is not available right now. Okay. Let's do a little bit of Outlook. I think, have you guys started using this within Outlook as well?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so we won't go over too much. We'll sort of just quickly go by it just for anybody that maybe hasn't. Imagine you kind of have Outlook open. Again, you have these threaded chats, right? These threaded chats are going on and on and on. And you have been added to an email, right? Late in the game, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go back and read all these things, right? Imagine just coming here, clicking Copilot. It's going to scan that email. It's looking for some key points. It's combing through everything, and it's going to come back and it's going to say, okay, here is the most relevant information, right, that's happening. Again, it's a 6,000 character limit at the moment that will absolutely increase over time, but right now it's 6,000 character limits. And so it gave me this kind of, cool little, update here, right? It's saying, I've attached, this the VP passes to the tech fair and so on and so on. And oops, of course, I just dumped out of that. Give me 1 sec. Sorry about that, guys.
Hey, Jonathan, can you mention the part about like having to turn on the toggle for the new Outlook for that to work?
I can. Yep. Give me 1 sec as I shut down my piece there. Okay. Let me finish this and I'll make that statement if that's okay. So let's say I went through and now I want to use Copilot, and I think everybody's seen that. So now we can say draft with Copilot. So again, if you haven't seen this, let me know, but I can just say, please reply back to Sarah. And we'll do some actually misspellings. Thanking her for the VIP passes. Can't wait to use them. And so again, we can come here. It's going to go take what I've asked it to do. It's going to look at the email below, and it's going to generate kind of a response, right? Again, I can come here and it's going to say, hey, I can keep this. We can generate some options. There's a little bit more options with email. If you guys haven't seen this, we can make it more direct, keep it neutral, casual, or more formal. And then obviously, hey, I want to make this a little bit longer. I know Sarah really well, so I want to make it casual. Let's regenerate that response. And then I'm going to go ahead and push that out. So to your point, within the EA program, in order to utilize Outlook, let me just make sure I'm not showing anything here. Yep. We need to have the new Monarch Outlook deployed. If you do not toggle the switch on within your desktop, it will not work. You certainly can go ahead and use it within OWA. So I don't know how you guys utilize your Office products. Are you guys more of a web or are you more of a desktop? If you're using anything on the web, you're going to be good to go. If you're using it on the desktop, a couple things, you're going to need to make sure you're on the new Outlook Monarch, right, by toggling that switch over to the right, as well as either on current version or you need to be on Mac. And if you're on the MEC, you need to be on 2306 or higher in order to see or utilize Copilot within your Office apps. Any questions on that?
So if I want to use it on the web version, I still have to on the desktop version say turn on the new one.
Can you, I apologize. I don't know if it's me, but I did not hear the question. Did anybody else?
Sasha, your audio is breaking up quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'll chat.
I mean, we can, go ahead.
And
Jonathan, I was just going to ask a question real quickly.
Sure.
Are you saying that none of these Copilot features can be used with the desktop app? They all have to be the web enabled except for Teams?
No. So let me stop the, you guys aren't just sort of, and I'll pop my video on here too. Okay, so OWA, anything on the web, you guys are, as long as you have a license. So again, let me go back. First thing is everybody needs a license assigned to them in order to use Copilot. That's first and foremost. Once you get a license assigned, semantic indexing starts to happen. It takes about 72 hours individually to index your information. Okay, it's always indexing in the background. You don't have to do anything, but it'll complete in about 72. I think it's a little bit shorter, but I'd like to tell everybody 72 just to be kind of on the safe side. Okay. If you have Office web apps, they will all just work once you get your license, right? So you don't have to upgrade to anything, right? Your Word will work, your OWA will work. So you guys can try it now. If you go down to office.com, sign in, everything should be there for you. In order for it to work on the Win32-bit apps, a few things need to happen. And somebody, I don't know if on this call can tell me, but one is you need to be on either current version, or you need to be on the monthly enterprise current. If you're on the monthly enterprise current, you need to be on 2306, right? Unfortunately, if you are there and you're not seeing it, let me know. There is an issue. We figured out what the issue is, and we're in the process of fixing that and reshipping that out. So if you're telling me you're on Mac and you have 2306 and it's not showing, I get it. We figured out what the issue is. I just need a couple days in order for you to see it there. Okay. The other piece is what I talked about is Outlook. You need to be on our new Monarch application on Win32, and you need to be toggled over. So you just can't have it. You need to also make sure that it's toggled and on. Does that help?
Kind of, if I knew what Monarch was.
It's just Monarchs are what we call the new Outlook. So I'll just say new Outlook. And I don't know, has that been deployed there at AdventHealth?
Yeah, it has. Yeah. And it's the Outlook that looks like the web version of Hotmail.
It does. Yeah.
So there's a lot of functionality that's lost going from desktop to that version.
Yeah.
For those of us who don't like that, we have to wait or make a choice on, right? Either use Copilot or keep all the functionality in desktop Outlook.
I think
Okay.
I would say for this program, I can't say there's a lot of changes that are going to happen, right? For this program, though, you need to use the new Outlook and the functionality it gives you today.
Okay,
Okay,
that's cool.
just hang in there with it, and we'll either make it better or we'll do something. And I'm recording, so I can't say too much, but it'll get better. But for this
Totally will.
program, we have to, unfortunately, it needs to be Monarch or the new Outlook.
Totally will. Totally will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I want to pause here because I know we have the hour. I can bring up PowerPoint if you want, or we can kind of shift that to the next call, or we can bring Loop into the next call. There's a lot more. There's just so much more that I can do, but I like to take the last sort of 10 minutes and just do this. Let's talk, right? Ask me questions. I can give you some kind of different use cases for these products as well too.
I had a question about PowerPoint. Do you know if it's on the roadmap to leverage our own corporate templates within
Yep.
PowerPoint?
So that is the number one question I get by every single customer, and the answer is yes. It's not available right now. It is coming. I don't have an ETA, but it absolutely will be there for you, for sure.
Great.
Yeah.
I wanted everyone to hear that.
Yep. Great question. Yeah, everybody wants their own template, right? Because it just goes out and gets you stock images, and it's like, hey, we can't use all those images. What else, guys?
Yeah, Jonathan,
Yep.
I would say like getting that update you mentioned that's coming in a few days for 2306.
Yes.
It's going to be very important for us because, I've already taken the steps to make sure that most of the people, well, really everyone who has a Copilot license should probably have received that update. And so we just need to get, I guess, the new update you're talking about for that.
There was a flighting issue, engineering. There was something when they shipped it that just broke. It took us a while to figure out what it was. They've identified it. They're fixing it now. When it gets pushed, I don't know, but it'll be soon. They're doing everything they can to get this thing out. Do you have the ability, and again, I'm not suggesting anybody does this, but do you have the ability to move them to current? And there's reasonings, right, Eric? You and I kind of spoke about this a little bit.
We're working on it. We're waiting for some of my other contacts from Microsoft to light up a feature in our admin center that would allow us to switch specific devices over to current channel from our admin center. So that's something we're still working on.
Okay. You get more functionality for the guys, right? You get a full functionality set if you're in current version as opposed to being, within Mac. I don't have that list of differences. I can get that for you. But your experience will be much deeper and richer if we can get you on current version as opposed to the monthly enterprise. Plus, I don't know if they're tied together. There's definitely a difference. They're behind, right? I think you're about 30 plus days behind on feature sets too. But I have to double check on that last comment.
Jonathan, one thing on our last call, it was mentioned there's going to be a Teams channel that this group can continue to sort of collaborate on and reference. Jennifer, I'm not sure if Jennifer is on the call, but she mentioned that she was going to help us set that up. So I wanted to let this group know that is going to be coming, and we'll continue the conversation there. As feedback comes in, it'll get directly posted to Microsoft. So I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to share on that topic.
I'll let Jennifer, I'm not aware. So if it's being set up, Jennifer's probably doing that, and we'll let her speak to that. One of the other things and I think I'm working with Eric, I'm not sure, but we're looking to deploy what's called our COE, Center of Excellence, as well too. I don't know if you guys have made a decision about deploying that or not. Essentially, it's going to be an in-tenant sort of team with a structure that's set up where either we're pushing some information to you through some SharePoint sites, as well as giving you guys, just a template. I don't want to oversell this. It's not like we're giving you all the data and all the files, but it's a template for you to help when you're building stuff out for your customers, whether it's the 300 or beyond. You can kind of push them to a single place to get information, right? Whether it's supply feedback or just learn about Copilot as well too. Yep. Lee, you had a question?
Actually, two. So number one, is there any calendaring features or functionality in the roadmap? Creating meetings with teams, that's something that seems to be ripe for some help.
So meaning just give me a little bit more context on what you're. I
So
think I have an
we've got
answer, but I want to give me some more
we
context.
got an email chain going on with 20 people. I need to get 30 minutes on the calendar.
Create a meeting.
Yeah.
I'll double check, but I believe we can do that today. But David, I see David on from Fast Track. I don't know if he's aware or others. Chad, if you're aware, but I think we can do that today. I'll test that out right after this call, and I have your name here, Lee. I'll send you if it is kind of instructions on how to do that.
That would be fantastic. And then secondarily, it sounds like the usefulness of the application is really going to be dependent upon the prompting that we're doing.
Yes.
So do we have, or is there a primer on prompting or something that we can read other than just the few suggestions that come up at the bottom?
Yep. So give me 1 sec. I don't love this document, but it's the best one that I've seen. It's called The Art of the Prompt. I'm going to put it in the window here. Sec. So take a look at this. We are building out a better Microsoft document around prompting. So this is sort of just to wet the whistle here, right? This is not the best doc I've read or seen, but I know we're creating some really cool documentation because that's what Copilot needs, right? The better prompts that you give it, the better information you're going to get back, right? And so prompting is going to be really instrumental in having a successful Copilot experience. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Lee. That's great.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
We got 1 minute left here. As you are using this and playing around with it, you're inevitably going to run into other people that want to leverage this as well. We are asking folks to fill out the form. I believe most of you took the time to do that. So please, you can forward that along to folks that you feel would be able to leverage this and take advantage of the features and that we can learn from as we go through this.
I think our next session, if it's okay, I'd like to bring PowerPoint up and kind of show you what's happening there. I'd like to bring Loop. Do you guys have Loop enabled? Awesome. Let's bring Loop up. I think Loop is a really, really cool thing with Copilot that I'd like to showcase. Excel, I'll show you, but it's not available to you. So you're going to have to just sort of see it and then believe me that it's there, right? It's coming. And then we can bring some kind of more knowledge to you guys if you want it around the graph, right? Or what is an LLM, or, what models are we using, or any type of information, right? That you kind of just are thinking about. I don't want to make it too technical, right? I'm not sure the audience on this call. I apologize if this is a technical audience or not, but ask your questions, right? We want you to feel comfortable. We're not hiding anything, right? We're going to give you every information that we have to make you guys super comfortable that this product not only is safe for AdventHealth, but that you want to use it as well. What I don't want it to be, and I'm sorry if anybody's on here, is just this, like, these power automate, you use it for 2,000 licenses and like nobody's using it. But this is going to be, I cannot use every single day since I've gotten this license, I use Copilot for something. I just do, right? I don't know how I do work without it anymore. I was dumb, I guess, with it. I don't know what I did without this thing. So I love it. I can hang for another 10, 15 minutes to answer questions if you guys want. It's up to you. If this was good enough, great. Or I can just hang tight.
Jonathan, just real quick, I did find an answer to that question about scheduling a meeting based on email. I posted it. It's in the chat. Looks
Awesome.
like a couple of folks saw it. So just let everyone know on the call.
Thank you, David. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, there's a couple pieces. So there's the request or the respond to the email with the calendar, but there also on top of that is Cortana. And I'm not entirely sure what Cortana's thoughts are or feelings are around Copilot. I think that's something, engineering may have to get to the bottom of, but there is a way to just respond, if this is enabled, to have Cortana actually do some of that legwork for you of schedule a meeting where all are available kind of thing. So a couple different articles there.
And we used to have the functionality. I think it's something that has gone away. there was a Microsoft tool where we could, basically the AI on the back end would take care of all the emails back and forth with people, even external parties, to try to get something scheduled. And that's really more the use case for me personally, but that's something that I would be hoping that we see with Copilot.
Yeah. If you have specific kind of use cases in mind, or hey, this is what I do, send that over to me, right? I'm happy to give you some of my thoughts, right? Right now, we don't do any plugins, so you can't integrate it into Epic or Cerner. I don't know if you guys are doing any of that stuff today. It's not there yet. But give me some of your use cases, right? I'll try to kind of, these are high level stuff here, right, guys? But we have the baseline. I have to get everybody baseline before we sort of broaden this out into what you do every day. So if you have specific cases, send it my way. I'll try it out. I'll let you know my thoughts. Either it's going to work or I'm going to say it's coming. All right.
I have a question, Jonathan. That Copilot app you have in Teams where you're chatting with it, is that the same chat assistant that you have if you're using, like if you're in the Edge browser, you click the Bing button and you start chatting?
Nope, that's different. This is a cross-app chat. It's a bot. It's a Teams app. First off, do you guys allow for those apps to be deployed? So it's going to be just a Microsoft
it is
app.
available. I checked.
Okay. So if everybody takes a look, you can go ahead and deploy it. You need a license in order for it to work, right? So be careful if you do allow it for everybody in the company. They may see it and deploy it. If they go to try to chat with it, it's going to say, I forget the wordings, don't quote me on this, hey, I can't do it. You don't have a license, something like that, right? But if you have a license, you have that ability. So whoever's your Teams admin, if you want to restrict it, if you want to put it into a different policy so that only your 300 users can see it, I recommend that. Or you can just leave it where it is today, and whoever sees it will download it, but they just won't have access to it. Hey, Matt, question?
Yeah. My question is about what the business chat is able to index. I mean, right now, it's Office 365, but in the future, is there any roadmap item for that business chat to reach outside of the environment to other enterprise sources like ServiceNow or Workday, for example?
Yeah, great question. The answer is maybe, right? I have to be I can't give answers to things. This is so new right now. This program is for 300 users. It's what I'm delivering is against the M365 apps inside of your tenant with your stuff only. Those additional third-party apps and all of the connectors and all, it's coming, I assume, but not for this program. Right? Great question. I'm not trying to be coy or I'm trying to be as transparent as I can. Just it's not part of this program.
I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Jane?
Yeah, this is probably a question for our team mainly, but since Microsoft's on the line, are we aiming for some kind of forum, I know, to assess some internal opportunities and test case scenarios for how we might not only use it, but educate and expand an understanding of how it can be used? And then if we run into situations where we think we've got a good application, but aren't really sure how to align some of these tools with that idea, is there a forum where we're going to engage Microsoft on some of those? Is that this meeting, or is that something that would be treated totally separate?
I imagine that will be a separate conversation, Shane, and we'll, in the Teams channel that we're going to establish, we'll probably bring those use cases up there and we'll dig deeper and sort of evaluate those.
Yeah, we're ready soon to start to kind of expand out from this core and base stuff that you're seeing now, right? And it's everybody's asking for that, right? It's not going to be exactly what you want, but we'll start with somebody in HR or somebody in marketing or somebody in IT, right? Or somebody in sales. It depends on what you guys are doing. And we'll start to deliver a wider grip of the app and what it can do within that sort of persona. It may not exactly apply to what you do for a living, but you'll say, okay, I get that. And now let me sort of do that within my business unit and then contact us and we'll say, hey, here's how I would do it. Here's, you know, some of the stuff I would bring into it, and we'll see if we can help you. I think the COE, Tim and Eric, I think that's sort of next on the list here. If you guys have made a decision to deploy that, or I don't know who makes that decision on this call, but in my opinion, the Center of Excellence really is something that we've been finding pretty useful for our customers. I don't want to oversell it though. I want to be real clear. It's just a templatized kind of piece that's an in-tenant. But the really cool thing is we'll set up an automation flow, a SharePoint automation flow from Microsoft into your tenant that'll kind of give you some news and updates around Copilot, so you don't have to do anything there. Was this helpful? So let me just ask, we'll end here. Is this helpful to have? I know we haven't even touched the surface, right? We got to get to some other apps. It just takes, it's too long, right? To do 2 hours of just kind of, you know, answering questions, show you things, answer your questions, show you things. I think that's been a better process for me and my customers. If you want something different next time, let me know. I can talk for 2 hours, talk for 3 hours if you want, whatever you guys want, but I like this model. It seems to work better.
Yeah, I think this was very effective. Thank you, Jonathan. Great
Of
job.
course. Yeah, thank you. All right. I will ask Copilot for a summary. You're only going to get about 6,000 characters. I'll send it out to you guys. We'll see what it looks like, and then you know, we'll go from there. So Jennifer and the Microsoft team, Chad, I'll work with you guys. We'll get the second session, you know, stood up. Jennifer was asking about that today, so I just wanted to make sure we had this call first, see if this was the right type of tone and content to deliver, and then we can kind of work to set up the second hour for you.
And I somewhat randomly, somewhat selectively picked this group. It was about 60 folks on the invite. There is about another 50 that did not get invited to this session. So I'd love to be able to send this recording to those folks and include them in the next section, if that's all right.
Again, for me, I'll just break it out this way, and I was talking to Jennifer about this. The amount of people on the call is not an issue for me. You can have 1,000 people on it, doesn't matter. I can talk to as many. It's the questions, right, that take up a lot of the time. So if you have a lot of people on the call and they have a lot of questions, I typically don't then get through my presentation. So I'll leave that kind of comment to you guys. You know, have as many as you want on, but I would then sort of try to limit it, the amount of questions that are asked, to kind of, you know, so I can get through the content. Cool. It's Friday. Hopefully everybody's going to relax and have a good time this weekend. I know I am. And I appreciate everybody's time.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Have a great weekend.
Okay,
Thanks
everybody.
all.
Bye.